It's Groundhog Day, and it sure does feel like it. Joe Biden's America continues to threaten our security in the states and overseas. There's a sneaky little bill put forth that feels a lot like prepping to prosecute unhappy citizens. We're hearing a lot of war talk lately, and we do not trust the White House, so we're going to get real clear on who has the actual authority. And E. Jean Carroll does maybe the dumbest thing you can possibly do and goes on TV with her legal reps and talks about the shopping spree she's about to go on. Recap of this week's news in 15 minutes or less. All of this coming up. It's February 2nd. I'm Alexis Wilkins, and this is Between the Headlines. We have to start this week's update on a really serious note. Especially heartbreaking when we had similar news not even 2 weeks ago. But due to what is being reported as a malfunction in sensing equipment, 3 American soldiers are being brought home wrapped in flags. Over 30 men and women are injured in this attack on an American airbase in Jordan. In situations like these, especially after a string of institutional failures, total letdown of a Secretary of Defense, as we've said before, through Biden and Milley's Afghanistan withdrawal, leaving these terrorist groups billions of dollars worth of equipment and $6 billion of previously frozen assets, you would think that we'd at least have a good mouthpiece with the ability to offer the right words at this very sensitive time. Let's see what the press secretary has to say.
What I will say, obviously our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration.
Folks, and the far more egregious offense, fighting for this administration. Just based on the simple structure of government under which we live, she could have said anything. She could have said this country. She could have said the American people, America, the Constitution, but she said this administration. It shows you the blatant disrespect for those in uniform and how they think about them. It also shows that if you hire someone who can't do their job, you're going to get sound bites that are bad. No matter what you're aiming for your staff to look like, how they should vote, who they should date, none of it actually matters at all if you cannot give a very simple press statement.
You know, people of every age and gender, by the way, who see something about being the first that lets them know they don't need to be limited by other people's limited understanding of who can do what.
Well, okay, let's see if Biden is making time to receive the soldiers in the dignified transfer when they land back on American soil. John Kirby, watch.
John, do you expect the president would go to Dover for the dignified transfer when these Americans are returned to the United States?
I don't have anything on his schedule to speak to.
Well, you know, they often say that the Biden administration isn't funding both sides, and they maintain that the assets ascertained by Iran and Iran proxies aren't responsible for causing additional deaths of Americans. Let's hear from the Pentagon press secretary to have her clarify.
Iran certainly bears a responsibility as they fund these groups that continue to use capabilities that they get from Iran, and of course killed 3 of our service members.
Well, all right, so Iran is in fact responsible over there, but at least they've got a handle on the border. Surely we're not actually losing terrorists within our own country and welcoming in people with upside down un-American value sets. Right. So here's what I've gathered. They do not care about American lives. They do not care about American security. They do not care about American future. And we knew all of this, but showed linear, how in the world did we get here? You know, under Trump, Iran was broke, over-leveraged, ISIS was weakened, Iran proxies were not funded and supplied. The U.S. didn't have to remove the high school diploma rule like they did just a few days ago with record low recruitment, because people actually wanted to fight for Trump's America. The soldiers who died this past week, their memory, their families, deserve better. 32-year-old Justin Moan has decapitated his own 68-year-old father in the name of federal overthrow, but there's so much more to this. The leftist media has already rebranded this as an anti-Biden, anti-federal attack, but if you read Justin's posts, he posted this awful video to YouTube where he claims he's the Messiah and evidently shows his father's head. Of course, the video is removed now. He is anti-government because he thinks he's the president. He thinks he is the Messiah president. He even said he is asking people to also be anti-government, which in a recent post, he even says that he will sue President Donald Trump and that he will be in jail forever. So not a fan. So the anti-Biden rhetoric really isn't accurate, and this is all construed to be exactly how they want it to be, trying to make the reasonable people of the right appear in cahoots with the radical. But I think on the topic of Justin trying to raise a militia, the timing of it, coupled with the issue of the border, of states sending their National Guard, of the secession language of Texas, or even scarier to the feds, citizens picking up their guns and defending their country. I think we need to look at how these news stories and events are reflected in proposed policy, because it very quickly becomes a chicken or the egg scenario. So here we have HR6981 proposed by Jamie Raskin of Maryland. This bill states that it amends Title 18 of U.S. Code in order to prohibit unauthorized private paramilitary activities. Already, my alarm bells go off. I'm sure yours do too.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Let's look at the aspects of this bill in summary. You cannot publicly patrol, enact paramilitary drilling, or operate deadly military activities. You can't interfere with government activities. You can't interfere with the Constitution. You can't assume the functions of a law enforcement officer, peace officer, or public official. And you cannot train to engage in military activity. Okay, so let's take it piece by piece. This is weird. 1 through 3 are already baseline, no question, aspects of them are illegal. Deadly measures, illegal. Interfering with operations, constitutional interference, ironic for this context, but already illegal. Basic counterterrorism aspects. 4 is kind of dicey because it feels a little bit to me like we could be barring malls from hiring mall cops. I don't quite understand the full implication here, but this seems to bar the George Floyd era citizen law enforcement people. 5 is the one I think they meant to write this bill for. 5 is broad. Normally, where this would hyper-focus on Second Amendment issues, this bill actually seems to violate the First Amendment. Here's the thing. Counterterrorism? Great. Coming from the party that is letting people in over the border who want to enact terrorism on this country, weird, but okay. I'm all for keeping people who hate this country and the people in it from assembling. The pro-Hamas people are not terrorists themselves, generally. They're not great, but we let not great people assemble in this country. That is their right, that is their freedom. Limiting anything about these rights is unconstitutional and more of a projection of the future under Democrats. Now, will this bill pass? Unlikely. But it is a temp check of where the people in government are. They're really afraid of Trump's polling numbers. They're afraid of you and I using our voices and waking up the voting middle former I don't talk politics people. Just like at John Bolton claiming that Trump is going to amend the Constitution to stay in power.
Yeah, whatever.
They're terrified. Watch.
I think Trump's going to do everything he can to maintain himself in power. He does have the Constitution standing in his way this time, which expressly bars a third term. And I'm sure one of the things he'll do is launch an effort to amend the Constitution.
But make no mistake, they will infringe on any right you have and take an inch if you give it to them. For our constitutional bit,
Constitution of the United States.
With Biden and the machine angling for war with Iran, no matter how much they act like they aren't, as people rightfully tweeted about World War III impending and starting a war, putting troops on the ground, all of those things, it got me thinking about who actually declares war. And I figured in this climate, we should all know. The Constitution frames powers in separate parts in order to keep checks and balances. The vesting clause in Article 2 grants the president broad responsibilities without specific limitations, providing wide discretion in fulfilling his duties. Sections 2 and 3 outline the president's executive authority, including being the commander-in-chief, setting military and foreign policy, appointing advisors, judges, and ensuring faithful execution of laws. Now, Congress holds the power of the purse, controlling funding for federal government operations. The withholding of this funding allows Congress to restrain the president's initiatives, preventing unchecked authority. While the president is the commander-in-chief and sets foreign policy, only Congress can declare war. He can also be impeached for misconduct, although the bar is high to prevent misuse of that ability. The Electoral College is another guard against tyranny, and of course, as we already know, we get to pick our leader, barring fraud, just saying, every 4 years. And these safeguards worked fine for a long time, until we had a series of presidential decisions without formal declarations. Truman and Kennedy both sought military action without permission, After the bombings in Cambodia by President Nixon, the U.S. passed the War Powers Resolution in 1973. A president must consult and report to Congress before sending troops, with exception of attacks. Hostile actions can last for 60 days plus a 30-day withdrawal. Congress must vote on a continuation unless an attack on the U.S. mainland prevents a vote. Forces deployed without declaration of war must be removed at the Congress's direction. So all in all, it's not over until Congress says it's over. E. Jean Carroll went on MSNBC the other day and acted like a lottery winner to her rep's dismay. Let's look at it.
You've talked about using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's rights. Do you know what that might be, what that might look like?
Yes, Rachel. Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to do with this money. First thing, Rachel, you and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes, new shoes, motorcycle for Crowley, new fishing rod for Robbie. Rachel, what do you want? Penthouse? It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France? You want to go fishing in France? No?
You don't need to side with Trump to see that this is insane behavior. The trial, the coverage, the jury, all thrown. Not to mention, Nikki Haley and E. Jean Carroll are funded by the same person, LinkedIn owner and alleged Epstein Island guest Reid Hoffman. This mental woman is being utilized by the left as part of the continued but failing plan to take out Trump in the judicial system. But his polls keep going up, and I just don't think that's going to happen. China is in absolutely everything, and now even your vacuum. Watch this.
Do you think we need to worry about what they're putting in our electronics?
Yeah, I'll give you one example. I bought this awesome vacuum and mop. It completely connects to a Chinese server to transmit and receive information. When you plug it in, it says, charging started, charging stopped. Like when you put it on and off, I can control that with my computer through a Chinese cloud server. There's no reason that vacuum and mop should connect to a Chinese cloud. And at any point, they could change the way that functionality works and take over my home network.
With the recent FBI warnings on China interfering with our everyday lives, hacking our entire world, this makes a lot of sense. TikTok can't even be a casual issue. They've created an entire marketplace where influencers can sell and buy goods all linked through China. The thing that's odd about this system, however, is the margin these people are making on the products. These products are cheap, and the influencers are getting paid a high commission on what they sell compared to the low percents of even Amazon or clothing app like To Know It. It makes me think that the product here is not the high-priced asset. It's your information that they want. A friend of mine had her card frauded after only one purchase. I don't have TikTok on my main device for security reasons, and I get emails almost every day to start creating on TikTok Shop. The end game here is never a dollar amount. It is information and power. And unfortunately, so much of our lives already run through Chinese servers, and liberal Gen Z on TikTok usher it right in. Thank you so much for watching this week's show. We are looking at adding live streaming, so if you could comment what day you'd want a live stream once per week, that would be really helpful. Like, follow, and comment. I'm Alexis Wilkins, and in times like these, make sure you do your own research, be good to one another, and remember, the truth is always somewhere between the headlines.